Are you wondering what it's like to be an international student in Australia? In today's video, I interview Guilherm, who provides his thoughts and insights of what it's like to be an international student in Australia. It is a must watch for anybody who's curious about what it's like to live, work, and study in Australia. It provides you with first-hand experience. And I just want to make a quick note here. The video goes for almost an hour, but you're going to get a lot out of it, especially if you're looking to undertake research in what it's really like to live in Australia. I am joined here with Guilherm, who is an international student here in Australia, who's been here for a couple of years now. So welcome, Guilherm.
Thank you very much, Rob. It's great being here. Hello, everyone. Remember to put a like here in the button, hit the like button. I think that's the way
Thank you.
YouTube works.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
No worries, that's it.
Excellent. So,
Thank you for having me here.
thank you for joining me today, and I guess the being an international student has been quite an interesting journey for yourself.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and what I wanted to ask you was before you started on this journey of becoming an international student, what did success look like for you, and what was it that you were trying to achieve out of looking to come and study in Australia?
All right. So ever since I was a teenager, I've always wanted to change the world. So that's why I decided to go to this education pathway in my life. So I decided to be a teacher when I was really, really young.
Mhm.
I was 19 when I started teaching, and I've been teaching ever since. And I think success in life would mean doing something for the world that is good and that is going to cause a good impact. Like I want to give something back to society. I want to give something back to civilization, and that's pretty much what it is. And also, of course, being happy while doing that. I think that's the most important part, that you keep your happiness, that you maintain your health, and most important of all, your mental health and your mind in the right place. And I think that's it.
Nice,
I
very
I,
powerful.
I see success as achieving my personal goals, and also trying to help society in a way, like where I can help everyone to achieve their own goals as well.
Yeah, that's lovely. Nice.
Oh, thanks.
So why is it that you chose to study in Australia instead of other countries?
So I was considering a bunch of countries when I decided to be an international student. I was already studying English by myself, so I started studying English by myself when I was 8. And I really liked the language, so I was already able to speak English when I was 10, 11. So I was looking for an English speaking country.
Mhm.
I didn't want to go to North America because we already receive a lot of influence from the Americans there at Latin America. So I'm Brazilian, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, probably people know by my name or by my accent, but yeah. So in Brazil, in Latin America, we receive a lot of influence from North American countries like the USA or Canada, things like that. I didn't want to go to Canada because it's very cold. So I wanted something that is quite like my country, or that had a very interesting history that I could learn from it. Totally different culture. And I've also studied biology, so my biggest dream was always to come to Australia, not as an international student, but I wanted to come. I wanted to see the kangaroos. I wanted to see the echidnas. I wanted to see the platypus.
Yeah.
You know, so everything just worked out really well. So I wanted a country that was an English-speaking country. I wanted a country that had similar weather or similar kind of climate to mine, and I wanted a country where I could have the most diverse experience that I could get. And so far, I can say that Australia is amazing regarding that, because this is the cultural hub.
Mhm.
I mean, a term in my head. It's a cultural hub. Like you can meet people from all around the world in Australia. So my main goal was that I wanted to meet new cultures. I wanted to learn new stories. I wanted to meet new people from different backgrounds. And I think Australia is great for that.
And you're
So
currently living in Sydney, yes?
yes, I'm currently living in Sydney.
Yep.
Yeah, very
And
close to
and
the city. I live 5 kilometers away from the city.
yeah. And did you get a chance to see kangaroos and the animals that you wanted to see?
Oh yeah. Last year I went out to. It's not very hard, by the way, to see those animals here in Australia. That's one thing that I was very surprised here in Australia. The wildlife is very well conserved. I mean, most of them, like big mammals, they are very well conserved. So it's not hard to see them all. Even in the city, sometimes you go out on walks and or for a hike or anything like for hiking or anything like that, and you might see an ectina or you might see a platypus in the river or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, it was great. It was
Mhm.
amazing. I saw them. Yeah, I touched some kangaroos too. They have lots of national parks where you can meet these animals and all of that. It's great. It's great. It's amazing.
And how have you found Sydney so far?
So when I arrived, Sydney was a different city. I arrived right after they opened the borders in April 2022,
Hmm.
and it was quite different. It was a different city, very nice, cozy, interesting. And then after a while, more people started to come because, like I said, it's a hub, so
Yep.
it is expected to receive a bunch of people. And nowadays, I'm in a very different city because. And by the way, when I arrived, I come from São Paulo, which is also a big city in Brazil. And when I arrived, people were used to say like, "Oh no, this is a very big city. Wow, this city is so huge." And I was like, "No, it's not. It looks like a small town to me. Like, it doesn't seem like a big city." And then uh, after 1 year, everything changed.
Hmm.
So Sydney looks a lot like São Paulo nowadays. Very vibrant, full of people. You can see people everywhere, like in the city, all the time. It is interesting, although it's getting crowded. So in crowded cities, you have problems with rent, housing, and all of that. I don't know if we want to get into it right now,
Yeah,
but
that,
yeah.
we can talk about that.
But so far, that's what it is. I mean, Sydney is always changing, but just know that it's full of people right now. It's
Mm.
really crowded.
So you've been in Australia for 2 years, roughly.
I've been in Australia, yeah, roughly. I've been in Australia for 1 year and 9 months now.
Yep.
Almost 2 years.
And what are you currently studying?
I'm currently studying project management, which
Mhm.
is a VET course,
Mhm.
and I'm studying with Greystone College.
Mhm. And what made you pick that particular course?
So I have a dream ever since I was young that I want to build my own school back in Brazil. So I
Nice.
want to go back to my neighborhood there. Yeah. So I come from a neighborhood that's like almost middle class neighborhood. It's
Mm.
kind of a poor neighborhood. So I wanted to go back there and offer something back to my neighborhood, to
Oh,
people
that's
from there.
beautiful. Yeah.
I want other I want other teenagers to also dream about traveling the world and learning and going through this educational pathway. I used to call it a knowledge pathway. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
that this knowledge pathway in life is very interesting and full of rewards.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
that's why I chose to study business. I've always wanted to study something related to management,
Yep.
business, creating your own kind of business environment.
Mhm.
That's why I chose this course.
And you enjoy being a world traveler?
I wouldn't say I'm a world traveler so far, but yeah, 100%. But hey, if you come to Australia, you will kind of be a world traveler because you will meet people from all around the world.
Yep.
Telling you, it is amazing. Yeah, there are so many cultures, there's so many people. It's so nice.
Yeah. Talking about cultures, what were your cultural challenges when you first came to Australia?
When you first come to a place that is so far away from your hometown, you feel displaced. You feel
Mm.
like you don't fit anywhere. And it was very hard for me to also click with other people from Brazil,
Mhm.
just because they almost always come from different backgrounds as the one that I came. So that's the thing. And for me, it was quite hard. I actually got a lot of help from my friends from other countries. So my best friend when I arrived was a Turkish guy.
Yep.
Now he went back to Turkey, and this is another thing about Australia that you have to learn. People come and go,
Mhm.
so it's very hard to stay attached to something. And I had to learn that, like not to be attached to the idea of having someone right next to you, just because that's the way it is. And um I started calling my family more often through video calls, video chats. I started talking to my friends from Brazil too more often. When I arrived, I really wanted to improve my English. So I started learning from other cultures as well. And that's it. You find support in other people because everyone's struggling, everyone is going through the same thing.
Yep.
So you don't have to remain attached to your culture. I mean, you don't have to completely cut off yourself from your culture, but it is good to have a mentality, an open mind regarding learning and just trying to fit in other cultures and learning these cultures and you know engaging in them. I really love learning new cultures, so that's the whole thing. I didn't feel like I had a big barrier in Australia
Mhm.
regarding that, just because Australians are very laid back. They accept a bunch of different cultures. If you talk to them, you are an Aussie,
Yep.
Rob.
I'm definitely an Aussie, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So normally you won't feel like you. I felt this place just because it's a sudden change.
Mhm.
But once you start talking to people and communicating, letting them know that you're feeling like that, they will try their best to get you into their culture and just making you feel better.
Mm. No, that's lovely. Yeah. So you feel
It's a
like,
very welcoming culture, I feel like, here in Australia.
and you feel like you've kind of adapted to the culture quite okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. I wouldn't say quite okay. I still struggle with a few things. Mainly because it's you have a different story, so you do different things in your lives, and sometimes people don't get it, and that's okay, that's normal, but it takes time for you to learn all of that.
Yeah.
So I would say I'm still adapting, and the thing is, everyone will be always adapting,
Mm.
like always changing. It will never feel like it is 100%, but that's all right. It shouldn't be anyway.
Do you keep
You
in
shouldn't.
touch? Do you keep in touch with your friends that go back home from the other countries?
Yes, 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 I do. Most of the times I do.
Mhm.
Well, not always, okay, because I don't have social media. I really don't
I
like
see.
to be in
Yeah.
social media. So most of the times I do,
Yep.
sometimes I don't. When they send some message back because they get a new number, then we keep in touch. But sometimes now.
Pretty good for networking though, from a business point of view.
Totally, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. And you mentioned about language and learning English. What did you do to sort of get better at your learning English and making that stronger? What were some of the strategies that you used?
Oh, I'm a real nerd, Rob. So when I have to learn something, I just get into it. I start reading a bunch of books. I start watching a bunch of YouTube channels. So I started watching people from all around the world, teachers that were teaching English, different accents, different cultural backgrounds, and that helped me a lot. Mainly Australian teachers. There's so many cool Australian teachers on YouTube. Just search for
Yeah,
them,
right.
and you will see like Aussie English, Aussie pronunciation. That helps a lot.
Mhm. That's some good tips for anybody who's looking to improve their English.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
what did you do to improve your English apart from watching YouTube? What else did you do?
So to improve your English, I tend to think there is only one way. You have to communicate. You have to talk to people. You have to yeah, talk as much as you can. So you got to learn how to make small talk. You got to learn how to talk about the weather, how to talk about your family, how to talk about your background, how to ask questions. You got to learn the most common things Australians talk about. So here in Australia, everyone loves rugby, cricket, different sports that we're not used to. But once you learn that, you're like, oh wow, it's quite interesting actually. And then you just start communicating with people, and they're very nice. So they're always going to help you, not in a bad way. I mean, people will correct you. That's quite normal
Mhm.
because, like, if you are an international student, you weren't born here, so
Yep.
you don't know all the nuances of the language. You don't know like all the details of how to express yourself. So just be humble and be ready to be corrected and communicate as much as you can. I think
That's
that's the only way, to be honest.
that sounds like really good advice. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Rob.
And from your point of view, how did you find the education system in Australia compared to back home in Brazil? What are the differences that you found with the learning
Mm,
side of things?
it is a very different system in comparison to the one that we have in Brazil. So in Brazil, we have a system, an educational system based on tests. So you will learn for a period of time, and then you have a test, and then you apply your knowledge on that test. Here you have a system based on assessments.
Mhm.
So every session or every course that you take, you need to complete several tasks, and you will have an end task that is a big one, and you will apply your knowledge in this end task. So everything that you learned from all the other tasks, you will apply it in this last task, which I think it's quite interesting, actually, better than the test-based system. But it
Better
could
than
be,
exams.
oh yeah, yeah, better than
Yeah.
exams, totally better. I mean, 100%. But the thing is, it is a little bit hard to adapt to this system if you're not really familiarized with it.
Mhm.
Thing is, since I decided what I wanted to be really when I was really young in my life, I just followed that pathway, and I got I got a little bit diverged from that pathway when I started my master's degree in Brazil. So
Mhm.
I studied microbiology, and that helped me a lot because that gave me the scientific thinking. So that's the whole I got to think as a scientist. So I understand experiments, how to test ideas, how to try and not feel like failure is a bad thing. No, it's quite the opposite. I actually think that failure is good because that failure will let you learn. So if
Yeah,
you're always
definitely.
right, you're not actually learning. You're just being yourself over and over and over. You're not changing anything. But so that's the thing. I learned a lot from science,
Mhm.
and that gave me enough resources to study here in Australia. But if you're afraid of failure, if you're afraid of communicating, you will have a bad time here.
I often say that yeah, the best way to learn is from failure.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
100% for everything. Like the best way we have to figure it out conclusions to get into conclusions is by failure. Like that's the scientific method. It's by failure. That's it. You have an idea, you test this idea. If it fails, well, go back, create a new idea,
Yeah.
and that's it.
So you've mentioned some really interesting points there, but what about building your social circle around you? Did you find any challenges in making any new friends?
Um, Not really, but I consider myself an introvert nowadays, so I'm not that kind of person that needs to have a lot of friends like all the time and be in contact with them. Like I don't really like that.
Mhm.
So I normally make a few friends, and I like them because we have a very nice and strong kind of relationship to each other.
Mhm.
And so it's not hard to make friends here. Actually, you just gotta be confident when you're speaking,
Mhm.
and you gotta be open-minded to different ideas, different
Yep.
cultures, different backgrounds. But yeah, I've got some friends, and as I said, most of my friends are from other countries.
Mhm.
So I was privileged in a sense that I came with my wife. So being with her helps me a lot. So you asked me about cultural barriers and all of that. So we help each other a lot. She helps me a lot. I help her a lot, and staying together, just it's very, very important.
Mm.
So if you have a partner, you can come with a partner to Australia, for example, and it is way better. I gotta say.
Yeah,
I mean,
actually, that's a very valid or good question that you raised there. A lot of international students ask if they can bring their partners, and
mhm.
how did you find that? Did your partner come with you straight away, or did your partner come later?
No, no, she came with me. We actually came together. So she came to study English for a long time, for a long period of time. I also wanted to improve my English, so I got a shorter period of time, but I didn't need to actually. I could just come as a dependent on her visa.
Oh, okay. So you actually
So
came. So your wife came first on the student visa, and you came as a dependent.
yeah, 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 we came together.
Yep,
Yeah. And then
fantastic.
then we swapped.
Yeah.
So now I'm studying and she is in my on my visa as a dependent, and that's it. So you can keep
Yeah.
doing that.
Okay, yeah, because a lot of my clients are quite concerned about doing a joint visa application when it comes to coming as a partner and things like that. But that's it's good to know. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's important to keep in mind that age matters. So your age matters, your
yeah,
budget matters, all of that, you know.
yeah.
So
Well, if you
that's
don't
the
mind me
thing.
asking, how old are you?
I'm 30,
30. Yep,
30 years old.
yep.
Yep.
And your wife as well?
Yeah, yeah, she's 29 now.
Yep. And both and no children at this stage?
No children, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. No children, only the two of us.
Yeah. So that sounds really good that you've brought somebody with you to share your experience with. So then how does that kind of help you when it comes to homesickness? Like how would you have felt if you came by yourself versus coming with your wife? Would you feel that you would have the same kind of homesickness if you're by yourself, or is it better because your wife is with you?
Oh, it's definitely better because my wife is with me. I would feel, I don't know how much more homesick if I was here just by myself. And even though we were to like we are together and all of that, we still feel homesick. That's very normal
Yeah.
because it's a completely different culture.
Mm.
Last year, I got to go back to Brazil and recharge my energies and all of that. And it's just a different feeling. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
You feel like there's something missing in
Yeah.
you, and everything's all right. Your life is okay. You're
Yeah.
living a good life, but it's a weird feeling
Yeah.
being away from your culture, your country, your friends, your people, like just speaking your language is completely different. So I reckon if you're gonna come to Australia for a very long time,
Mhm.
uh, plan it through and think about one moment or 1 month or I don't know, at least one or twice.
Mhm.
uh, Think about going back and seeing your family and being there, because that's really important.
Well,
Even
that sounds like it's a strategy that you used. What other strategies would you use, do you feel, that would help somebody to overcome homesickness?
I listen to a lot of Brazilian music. I listen to a lot of I like different types of music from Brazil as well. I like to keep in touch with my family and friends. Podcasts help a
Yeah.
lot. So when you listen to people speaking your own language, laughing the way you laugh, and just having the same kind of jokes and all of that, that helps too.
Yeah.
So I would say that nowadays with Spotify, you can just you can hear people speaking in your own language like
Technology is amazing these days.
every time. In YouTube too, yeah.
Oh,
So
YouTube.
watching YouTubers and following your favorite creators from your own country, that really matters.
Mhm.
And being in touch with them. And sometimes it's even nice if you could go to Twitch, for example,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, yeah, and watch someone live streaming, and you're just
Ah,
talking
very
to this
interesting.
person, or talking to the community, like yeah, about I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So we have some very good streamers in Brazil, and
Yeah.
they like to create this nice community. So being there, just being in the community, talking to other people, that's it. That
Yeah.
helps a
No,
lot.
that's very interesting. I've not considered Twitch. So as a
Yeah.
process or pathway. So that's
because
very,
it's live, and
yeah, yeah,
sometimes you have some people that have like 10, 15 viewers. i
yeah,
used i used to stream my biology lessons when I was in Brazil,
yeah.
and I created this small community of 20 people that is actually quite nice. So whenever someone is streaming, I just jump in there, and we start talking about anything, and it's
Yeah.
live, so you feel that human connection.
Ah, yeah, I see why that would be so so important and so engaging. Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
valid points. Yeah. And in saying that, like you mentioned earlier at the start that about the cost of living and things like that. How have you found the financial side of things in Australia?
Look, in Australia has one of I think here in Australia you have the highest minimum wage in the world, right?
Hmm.
So you get really well paid for any job you can do. The thing is, you also have to pay for a lot of stuff. So you need to think that you're gonna work like really hard and work a lot,
Hmm.
but you can at the end of the month save something for yourself to either apply for your next visa or to do whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
So I I think that the cost of living has been changing a lot ever since I
Hmm.
arrived. When I first arrived here, it was quite okay. I mean, I could navigate quite well in the system, and I was feeling like I was rich. I was like, yeah, I got a bunch of money. But then after 10 months, was just like everything changed,
Yeah.
and the cost of living has been changing ever since. And it's becoming harder and harder, not only for international students, but
Mm.
for domestic students as well,
Yeah.
for people that live here.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you can see, yeah.
Do you think a lot of that was because of what happened with COVID? Do you think that's put the pressure on the cost of living?
Could be. There's so many things that could be the reason for that. I think it's not only one thing, maybe a bunch of them. And but yeah. The things that are happening in the world right now, they affect directly the cost of
Yeah.
living here. But also in Australia, you have a housing issue right now. People cannot afford for to pay for their own houses anymore.
Mm.
House, the house prices are just way over the ceiling,
Yep.
and so I think all of that it is all contributes to
Yeah.
this. And you got yeah several problems, several
Yeah.
issues.
So for new applications, for example, for students that want to come to Australia, they've increased the minimum savings to $24,505
Yeah.
Australian. So do you think that's quite justifiable? And for because of all the housing pressure and stuff like that, do you think that makes it better to have more money accessible because of the cost of living?
Mm, it's it's really hard to say
Mm.
because I don't see I can't see international students causing this issue because
Mm.
normally international students have the amount of money they need to afford their own houses or to afford their own rents.
Yeah.
Although sometimes people don't know about how the system works here in Australia, the real estate system.
Mhm.
So they come with less money than they should, and then it's
Mm.
hard for them to find a house. For me, it was really hard at the beginning because I didn't
Yeah.
know you needed to pay for a bond to
Ah,
rent a
yeah.
house,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and the bond is like four times the rent.
Yeah.
So right away you got to pay for a whole month. And
Mhm.
if you don't know about that, you won't have this money, and it's gonna be very, very hard for you to find a house. So you
Yeah.
gotta find shared houses or hostels or any other affordable house.
If you were to, if if it was you 2 years ago, what would you say to yourself from a financial point of view? If you were to give yourself advice.
Hmm. I would say I would say be open-minded about opportunities and just take every opportunity you can to build your career, or maybe just make some money, learn new skills.
Yeah.
So, for example, when I arrived in Australia, I learned how to be a barista just because I wanted to have this skill. It's a very interesting skill.
Mhm.
I improved my English. This is another good thing. So, focus on those skills. And I would say that to myself, like at the beginning, I did that, but later, I would
Okay.
say that. And maybe come with a little bit more money.
Mhm.
I would say that to myself as well.
Yeah.
And try to save some more as well, because once you get here and you see everything has a different price, things are completely different, you could
Yep.
get into it and just like lose your mind buying things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if it's more of a want than a need.
exactly. Yeah. You want it. And then in your
Yeah.
country, that same thing is like 10 times more expensive than it is in here, like,
Yeah. Wow.
so
Okay. It's interesting.
that's kind of what it is. Yeah, that sometimes happens.
Wow. Okay.
Uh,
And one of the other main things for international students is that they need to have overseas health cover when they apply to come to Australia. And how have you found the healthcare system in Australia? Have you had to use it? How did you find it?
so I came with an international healthcare, and so I don't use Medicare. Medicare is the health system in Australia that they normally use, and it's kind of weird not to have a Medicare. So every time you go to the doctor, your doctor will ask you, "What's your Medicare number?" And you're like, "I don't have a Medicare."
I
And then
see. Yeah, yeah,
and they just don't know what to do
yeah.
because that's quite normal for them to have one. So you got to go into the doctors that accept your overseas health cover. That's
Student health
the
cover. Yeah.
yeah. So you got to go to them. But look, they're quite nice. I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't have a problem with that so far. Gives you like
So from a health point of view, then you found getting into seeing doctors easy enough with your
it's
healthcare cover and things like that?
yeah, it's not hard to see doctors here in Australia. You can book an appointment online, an online appointment or anything like that. I think. Uh, so can I say the name of the health cover and insurance that I
Yeah,
have?
you can say that. Yeah.
So okay, I'm on Bupa right now,
Yep.
BUPA, and they have a system. They have an online system that 4 to 5 free consultations, online consultations.
Wow.
So whenever you have a problem, an issue, need a prescription or anything related to that, you can just go to that system and talk
Oh,
to a
that's good.
doctor, and
Yeah.
it's almost right away. Yeah, they
Yep.
they can book you in 1 hour or even less than that
Yeah.
sometimes.
Wow, that's
So
great.
so when I was feeling really, really sick, yeah, I booked an appointment and this doctor talked to me. He didn't prescribe me anything because he probably thought it was just the flu. It wasn't.
Uh, yeah.
But
Yep.
I then talked to another doctor, and this
Yeah.
other doctor helped me. Yeah.
So while you've been in Australia, how have you managed to balance the life between the academic life, the personal life, and the working life? How did you find your balance?
I think I didn't find my balance. I'm
Still
still
working
looking
on it.
for that balance.
Yeah,
I'm trying to juggle everything here.
yeah.
But it is very different because you work a lot in Australia, even though students are only allowed to work 48 hours fortnightly. You
Mhm.
still kind of put on the effort to make enough money to pay the rent, to pay the groceries, everything you need to survive.
Yep.
So you got to change your lifestyle. That's the whole thing.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm studying on weekends right now, so during the week I normally do things related to my house and things related to my work, and then I get 2 days of the week where I find a few hours to work on my assessments, to work on my course, and study a bit more.
Mhm.
And then on Saturdays I just take the whole day to
Yep.
study and read, and that's pretty much what it is. And then on Sundays I just go away. So no, I gotta do
You
something.
got to have a break.
Like
Yeah.
I like to be in nature. Yeah.
Nice.
And this is a good thing about Australia. You can just take the train and go away like 1 hour away, and you're going really, really far from the city, and you're gonna be in the middle of nature. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Did you find it hard to find work in Australia?
Not really, but I was quite privileged regarding that because I came to study English and I got a job as an IT support in the English school I came to study in. So just because I had this background, I have this background in IT too, because when I studied microbiology, I studied bioinformatics.
Yep.
So I got this job and I stayed there for a while. And then in September, I applied to be a teacher there at the same school. So and they hired me as well. So
Good stuff. Yeah.
I can't say yeah, I can say that I had a bad time finding jobs, but I can talk about my wife's
Mhm.
experience with that.
Yeah. How did she?
She
How did she go?
Yeah, so that's the thing. Being a student here and only being able to work 48 hours fortnightly uh will put a barrier into what you can or cannot do in Australia. So if you are already in a career in your own country and you come to Australia and you want to continue in that career, two things are going to define if you're going to get it or not. Your level of English, like how you can communicate with people or not, and if they're willing or not to sponsor you. That's another big thing, because if you don't have the amount of the full-time working hours they need to hire you, they won't hire you just
Mm.
because you have a student visa. So that happened to her a bunch of times. So she applied for a lot of positions and they didn't even call her for an interview just because
Yeah.
they look at her our visa and they say, no, you don't have the full-time working hours that we need.
Mm.
And that's the thing. We got to come with a plan. And but everything's okay now because she's also working as a teacher at the same school that I
Nice.
work on. And
Mm.
being a teacher is good because you get to work part-time and you get uh yeah,
Mm.
it's good. That's it. I
Mm.
mean, think about these kinds of job when you think about coming to Australia.
Yep.
These kind of jobs, like teaching or tutoring, creating online businesses, YouTube channel. People normally do that.
Mhm. Do you think the problem is that the an employer in Australia doesn't understand the what the student visa is about? Do you think that's a barrier?
There could be. There could be a big barrier, yes, because they don't just see it as student visa. Don't even call that person for an interview. That could be it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So they don't find part-time positions. They don't announce part-time positions as often as they announce full-time positions. And yeah,
Hmm. What kind of job boards did you use to find work and things like that?
Here in Australia, you can use Seek to find work. You can use LinkedIn. Most people use Seek or LinkedIn. I think those are the best ones.
Yeah.
There are some others too, but you gotta be careful with scammers and
Yeah.
things like that. So
Yeah.
when I arrived, I used Gumtree, which is also a very famous one. That connects people. They sell things to each other. It's like an e-commerce kind of thing, but also they announce positions and all of that. So I saw this position of um, what was it again? An assistant, something, an assistant of a photographer, something like that. And it was a remote job, amazing job. And I started talking to the guy by email, and I soon realized that he was just a scam.
Gee.
He started asking for my documents like passport, yeah,
Gosh.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens too. That happens everywhere.
Yeah.
So you gotta be aware.
It's good that you're aware of that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it took me a while to actually realize that because once you come to Australia, you see people don't often lie to each other. It's the thing that this society don't kind of accept. But
Mm.
uh, but yeah, you gotta be careful. That's
Yeah.
it.
I guess like in
Careful with
any culture,
scammers everywhere.
yeah,
Any
yeah, that's
culture, yeah.
right. I guess like in any culture, you'll also always have some kind of bad eggs, but a few, not a lot, just a few. Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So, what strategies did you employ for networking and building connections within your field of study? So earlier you mentioned that you were learning in the area of business and that you've been teaching in your area as well. So how does that building that networking connections with within your field help you?
Oh, that helps a lot because you're keeping track with everything that's going on in the field. So you keep yourself updated. So the thing is, y- you have to start getting into the community.
Mhm.
So we have a bunch of online communities on LinkedIn that you can be a part of. You can connect to other people from in there, and there are some things that I think are very nice on LinkedIn. You can write collaboratively. So the thing is, you start with a topic, and then one person writes something about this topic, and you just continue the the topic on that, like with your own thoughts,
Mhm.
and then other people come, and then that starts a
I
conversation, or
see,
that
like
starts
job
some
boards and
type of
things like
discussion.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So you keep yourself updated with the field and what other people are doing as well.
mhm.
These field of teaching, and teaching English is an international thing. So we got people from all around the world that I love it. I keep in
Yeah,
touch with them
that's
and
great.
always keep myself updated.
Yeah. And then in saying that, like, that's your area of passion, which is teaching. And how do you stay on top of career development, staying on top of things that are coming up, new trends with developing your career further in Australia? What strategies do you use?
So I think nowadays we can follow creators on YouTube, we can follow creators on LinkedIn, things like Educations Without Borders, for example. You can subscribe to this channel and just follow more about this as well. The thing is, yeah, there are so many ways of keeping in touch with that and just keeping yourself updated. It's hard to say, but so many things.
Mm,
Online, you can connect online with people
yeah,
and go to meetings as well. Um, yeah, and events. Try to
mm,
find out what people are doing, and sometimes you'll see they're just going to the park and
yeah,
having a picnic. Not to talk about business, but just to network and know each other, and
yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. And you mentioned earlier about the struggles of finding suitable accommodation for yourself and your wife. If you were to go back and look at that again, let's say if you were looking to apply to Australia, what different approach would you take to identify the suitable accommodation for you before you came to Australia? What would you do different?
Would talk to more people that are living here before coming here. So you can go on Facebook. We have so many um pages in there, like community pages, where you can talk to people that are already in here and just message them and talk to them like, what are the struggles of living in Australia? Because I had two friends living in here, and I got their speech like I just got whatever they had to tell me as true. And I said, oh, is it like that? Amazing. Yeah, n equals 2. So I thought, oh, everything is great.
Yeah.
But nah, that wasn't enough. I should have talked to more people to prepare myself better before coming here. So that I think that's the best way. Or go to forums, online forums, and check what they are talking about, what they're discussing. For that, I recommend Reddit. You can just search like what it is to live in Australia. Search it on Google. What it is to live in Sydney. Search for your own for the city you're looking for, and then just type Reddit at the end, and you will see people discussing about these topics and talking about what it is, so you can prepare yourself better
Yeah.
regarding that. Because there's so many details that we really don't know about until we get here.
Yeah, talking to your education agent would be also helpful too.
Oh yeah, that 100%. But
Yeah,
but
but a reputable one that's not going to give you the
exactly,
porcupines,
yeah.
one that's going to
But
give you the truth. Yeah.
yesterday, I had two students saying that they applied for the same course. They're gonna study cybersecurity,
Oh yeah.
and one agent, yeah, quite nice. One agent charged $6,000 from one of the students, and another agent charged $16,000 for the other student for the first
Wow.
fee. Yeah, so it's like, what's
Crazy.
going on? I
Yeah.
just told him, man, change your agent,
Yeah.
find a
Get him to
new
come
one.
to me. I'll help him.
All right. I'll tell
Yeah,
them to come to you.
that's it.
Good.
So studying abroad can be quite stressful. No doubt you've probably had a few stresses in your time being in Australia for almost 2 years, and uh, How do you overcome that stress? Like, what kind of support do you look for as an international student to help you to manage that stress being in a new country and things like that?
So that's the thing. You gotta talk to people, mainly people that are going through the same thing. You will see there are lots of people going through the same thing, but that's just something we don't talk about just because no one wants to say, "Oh, hey, I'm feeling bad right here." And but we should start talking about it. We should start asking each other, "Are you all right? Are you okay? Is everything okay?"
Mhm.
And that's the first thing. So I normally go to my first of all, I go to my wife, I talk to her, and that really helps me. Then I talk to my mom, send a message
Always
to my mom.
important, you know.
My brother, always important. Yeah, always ask your mom for everything, for anything. So the thing is, after that, you can start talking to your friends, and then if your friends are not enough to help you, then you can seek advice from a counselor or anyone who's a professional that can help you with
Yeah.
your
And they
issues.
say, and they have a very good system in Australia with a lot of free counselling services as well.
A lot of them, yeah, exactly. So
Mm.
the school I work on, LSC, offers free counseling for students
Mm.
at any time for several types of problems as well.
Which I think
I
is
think
really
that's quite
important.
nice.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
really important,
Mm.
really important. And sometimes you can find translations as well, translators as well to help you with that for free.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm really appreciating your time today with this interview in the day in the life of an international student here in Australia.
It's a pleasure.
Sharing your experience and skills that will hopefully help other students in the future that are looking to study in Australia. But if you were to think about 4 or 5 key golden rules, let's say if you're at the start of your journey, what 4 or 5 points of advice would you give to an international student that you think would be very valuable to them?
All right. So first of all, know what you're looking for. So know your goals. That's the most important thing, because if you come as an international student, you will have a goal. You will either want to apply for a PR, permanent residency, or you will want to just study and then go away to another country, to another place.
Mhm.
But keep that goal in your mind daily. I would even say write it on a piece of paper and put it on your wall, just
Yeah,
so you to keep that in mind, because
I do
that's
that
very
myself.
important.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. So that for me is the most important thing.
Yep. So
Like
goals is one. Yep.
goes is one of them. Second of all is English. I would say English first, but actually goals come first
Mhm.
because I can see a bunch of international students that don't speak English at all, and they find a way in here, and they start learning they start developing really fast. So,
Mhm.
but English is the second one. Try to get something of English before coming here, so get some culture, watch some movies. Normally, people don't receive as much Australian culture as they receive North American culture. So I would say if you're coming to Australia, try to get some Australian culture, try to get some Australian pronunciation, the way they speak, the way they talk, because it's quite different. It's a different
Mhm.
language, it's a different country, different culture.
Yep.
So English is one of them. Uh, Most of all, because I even remember when I came, I used to have these very strong North American accent. Not that I still don't, I don't care anymore. But I used to have this, and this wasn't a problem until one day I was talking to my boss, and I said something. Let me see if I can remember the. I remember. So I said I was talking to her about um, COVID, and something came out like, oh, it's a compulsory holiday, something like that. And then I said it's a compulsory holiday. And compulsory, it's the way you say it in North America. It's
Right.
the way you say it with the US. But she couldn't understand. She said
I
it's a
see.
what?
Yeah.
It's a what? And at that moment I said, well, wait a minute. Pronunciation matters. If
Mm.
I said this word this way and not this way, they might think it's another thing. So yeah, that's the thing. Second of all, English.
Mhm.
Third of all, culture is important. So yeah, let's say English culture, same thing, but it's not the same thing. Learn. something about Australian culture before coming to Australia. I think that's very important. Don't deny the culture. The culture is great. It's
Yeah.
amazing. People normally come and international students and they feel very frustrated because it's very hard to learn a new language. It is very hard to learn a new language. One of the hardest things to learn is a new language, and it's a very frustrating process as well. So they get frustrated and they get angry, and they start getting angry with the culture
I
just because they're frustrated. Yeah, try
see.
not to do that. And then I'm going to say the fourth one, uh, well-being, mental well-being. That's very important. So just know where you are with your mind. Keep an open mind. If you have issues, you can look for counselors, like we were saying before. So that is a good thing. And the last one, I would say, come with an open mind to enjoy the country and enjoy the culture and get into it, because Australia is so far away from everything. You might get something from here as well. Just get into the culture, talk to people, make friends, go to parties. Do live as most as you can, because it is a great place and full of good people too.
Do you think the because of the Australian culture and the way Australians are, do you think that it's opened you up to a different mindset and puts you in a different position for when you go home, that you think a little bit differently now?
Oh yeah, totally. Even when I went back home last year, I could say that I was already thinking in a very different way, like from the people that were living there. It is a very different society indeed, and you get into it. And once you get into it, it is very hard to go away because it's nice.
Well, Guilherm, this was a very enjoyable conversation. It
Thank you so much.
didn't feel
Yes, it
like it
was.
took as long as it did. It felt like it was only 5 minutes, but it was quite a lengthy discussion. And I appreciate your time today. If you've made it this far in the video, I really appreciate you for sticking around. And let me know in the comments down below of what you found useful out of today's video, and what is it that you can do or look at a little bit differently before you study in Australia. In the next video, I'm going to provide you with 7 tips of what you need to think about before you apply for a student visa for Australia.